And greetings and salutations. Happy Tuesday morning. It is Mornings with the Dred. I'm Otis B. Dreads. And if you've been watching the past few weeks, we talk a lot of indie horror. This morning is not going to be any different. I got to give a shout out to Tony over there, the Gorehounds of Horror, the group over there on Facebook. Tony is responsible for that pretty kick-ass intro. I love it. Today, got a real good show today. He's our guest today, Mr. LC Holt, actor, writer, producer, or director. Has been on the show before, about a year or so ago, and always a good conversation. He's got some new projects coming out here soon, and it's going to be a fun time. If you guys missed it yesterday, I did a little special broadcast on the Delphi murders in Delphi, Indiana. A lot of interesting things if you're a true crime buff like myself. And that case is shaping up to be a weird one. So check that out if you're not familiar with the case. It's actually it got stuck in my head a couple years ago due to the fact that it's only about 4 hours west of me. So pretty creepy, pretty much in my neck of the woods. So check that out. That's over on the YouTube channel where all these lives are going to be. And again, thank you for joining us. So I want to start the show off. As I mentioned, LC Holt is joining us, and I got a new project. I believe it's in post-production now, getting all the loose ends tied up, and it's looking to be a big one. Got some big names in this one, and we'll talk about that. After that, let's take a look at this here trailer. Then we're gonna bring Mr. LC Holt in. So let's go to that now. I'm gonna get myself off of here.
I should have known that tonight was gonna be a nightmare.
I'm gonna take the job.
You don't need to do that. We'll make it work.
Tired of fighting, Anna.
Secrets, they'll kill us.
Nothing could ever kill us. Not as long as we have each other's backs.
Hey!
Hey! You saved my ass back here. Let me do something for you. Anna, hey, Anna, I would like you to meet.
Drew.
Hell of an anniversary gift. I asked for wine. You bring home, what is he? A drifter?
A guy had a gun to my head until Drew stepped in.
That guy's still out there and he could do it to someone else.
I want to try trusting someone for once.
You're so naive.
Why are you doing this?
If I hear these dishes rattle, or worse, if they fall, I'll be very upset. And I will take my anger out on the wrong person.
What's happening?
You've gone into shock. This is what's called dissociation.
Look at the board. You gave away your king. Now the question is, are you going to give up my daughter?
All right. LC, that was kick ass, man. I'm really excited about this one.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back here with you, Otis. It's been a while. I mean, we've been in constant contact because,
Sure.
you're a part of Watchdog.
Maybe I am a little partial.
Yeah, no, yeah, you are a part of it. And I just thought your voice was so great. It pops up in there. Well, I guess we won't say where yet because the
Yeah.
movie's not out yet. But yeah, you'll get a little. You'll hear Otis when Watchdog comes out.
That's awesome. I'm really excited, man. How have you been? Let's just start there with the typical questions. How you been? You've been pretty busy. I know Watchdog is in post production, getting some things lined up. When are you thinking that might be out?
In terms of coming out, I'm not sure when it's going to come out because we're looking for distributors now. Uh, but we are going to have some showings of Watchdog
Okay.
coming up here very soon, some screenings, um, which, if anyone knows about where my last film that I directed first screened, then you might get a little bit of a hint about where Watchdog is going to screen. But there's another one as well. So, in terms of like film festivals and stuff like that, and convention screenings, those are coming up pretty soon for Watchdog.
Oh, that's going to be
Um,
awesome. I'd love to get to one. I've been itching to get back to a convention, and the last one I was at, I seen some Mike Shift. Oh, it's on this side. The history of metal and horror, and I got to check that out at his screenings, and they're fun. So when are you? That's going to be later on this year. You said maybe the screenings at or conventions, film festivals.
yeah, there'll be some screenings of Watchdog. And
Awesome.
then beyond that, with distribution, it's always so weird because you're trying to find the best deal and
Sure.
then you have to kind of go back and forth and figure out, who's the right fit for the kind of movie you're doing. And
Right.
that's a whole, it really is like a world unto itself, just that
Right.
part of it.
That's
Um,
gotta be what, causes I would think, outside of the actual making of a movie, that's gotta be stressful as hell for a, filmmaker, for a director to have to deal with that.
Well, it is, but by that point, the work is, a lot of the hard work is done. Though a lot of people, I don't think, know everything that goes into the distribution process in terms of
Right.
everything you have to have and everything stuff. I mean, on Watchdog, it's going to be fairly, simple because I've already done it once, and so now I have the whole. I know
You
what to
know how
expect.
you know how it works, right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah. And Watchdog was a different kind of production than the last one, so it's a lot easier in every respect.
Awesome, awesome. And also I seen, Time's Up is gonna be, coming out as well. Is that right?
Yeah, Dark Sky Films picked up Times Up, and
Awesome.
and it's coming out this month. So that's all, that's done. That's totally done. Um,
Awesome.
yeah, and that was a long time coming. So
Yeah, yeah, I've been waiting for that one. Yeah, there hasn't been there's a lot of holiday movies out there, and there's a few, regarding holiday horror movies, I should say, and there's a few around the centered around the New Year's Eve celebrations and whatnot. So this is kind of cool. I watched the trailer not that long ago again, and man, that one looks pretty creepy,
yeah, yeah. I mean, Times Up is a slasher movie,
dude. Yeah.
and it's as you said, it's set on New Year's Eve, um, and it's about a group of teachers, adults that get hunted by this guy in a Father Time mask, which I mean, that's unusual because usually, slasher movies are about young people.
Sure.
And even though there are young characters in it, because it's set around a high school, so there, I mean, there are people who are of that sort of age range.
Right.
Um, or at least playing around that age range.
Yeah.
I don't know how many. I don't know how many of them were really teenagers, but compared to the rest of us who are older, look more
Right.
like teenagers. So, but that's just kind of one of those things. But yeah, so that's finally coming out here in
Awesome.
July.
Now, I did mention some pretty big names in Watchdog. You wanna give us a rundown? Who's all in this one, man? This is a good cast right here.
Yeah, I mean the cast of Watchdog is a lot easier to go through because it's not enormous. You have Cheney Morrow is in it, and Cheney, of course, I've worked with many times before, and he just did this movie Malum that came out,
Hmm.
which was sort of a remake or a sequel to Last Shift.
Last Shift, yeah, yeah.
But he was in Haunt and Wrong Turn Foundation. It's a really great actor. I mean,
Oh
so
yeah,
versatile.
and pretty
Um,
much a neighbor to me. He only lives about 20 minutes up the road from me.
yeah, I always forget that, but that's true. You're
Yeah.
very true. And then there's Wes Robinson, who was in Blair Witch, the
Hmm.
Blair Witch that was directed by my old buddy Adam Wingard. So he and I are both Adam Wingard alums.
Okay.
And he's great. Celeste Blandon, who I just did a movie with called Phantom Fun World, that's about to premiere at Horror Hound this year.
Mhm.
And Daniel John Kearney, who co-produced the film as well. I've worked with him on several things as well. And then probably the two people that you're most mentioning there, and
Yeah.
that is Felissa Rose, who is my producing partner on many of these movies and is a really good friend of mine from Sleepaway Camp. She and Cheney, I always say, will be in everything I direct. It's just like, so great to work with her. And then Mark Patton from
Awesome.
Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge.
Mhm.
So you saved the two there for last, even though the entire cast is fantastic, and certainly people that if you don't know them now necessarily, you'll know them soon because
Yeah.
they're just so talented in
Oh
everything
yeah.
that they do.
Yeah, yeah. Cheney's he's a great actor. He's a great guy, great person. And of course, Mark Patton, Felissa Rose. I mean, it kind of speaks for himself.
Yeah,
Um, and that's funny that you say they'll be in everything. Felissa and Cheney will be in everything that you do. And a lot of directors they get namely Rob Zombie getting they always get a lot of shit about bringing the same people back, using the same people in all their movies. And I'm not a director, I'm not a filmmaker, but it doesn't seem to me to be a problem if a director finds actors that he can very easily work with and take away some of the stress,
yeah.
of the whole directing part. That seems to be a no-brainer to me.
Yeah, I mean, and I say that about Felissa and Cheney just mainly just because I always say that about them and everything I talk about them with. But
Right.
any member of this cast I feel the exact same way about of Watchdog. So, yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to make a movie. It's very challenging. And if you find people that you like to work with, who like to work with you, and on top of that they're versatile
Mhm.
and can do all these different things, I mean there's no reason not to work with them again. And I mean one thing about Watchdog is everybody in the cast pretty much is just like so great. I mean that was the thing about that movie, was I wanted to make a movie that was, in terms of the amount of people in it, was very contained, and
Mhm.
that allows you to really get the right actor for the part, as
Right.
opposed to just trying to, oh God, I have 50 people in this movie. In a movie of the budget level of Watchdog or some of the other things I've done, if you have 50 people, you're probably going to have a stinker in there somewhere.
Exactly.
if you have a few people, well, you can make sure at least to have everybody in the core cast be really good, and then that helps. Like I say, at this budget level, that really helps a movie when you
Hmm.
don't have to worry about, oh God, I got to cut around this, or
Right,
whatever,
exactly.
and because you want the movie to be as presentable and as professional and as good as you can. A movie like this, you have like three things. You have, writing, cinematography, and acting, and those are the three things that you can really, help your movie with. And if
Right.
if you lose any one of those three, it's not like you have the budget to CGI somebody else in the role or something.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, man, I couldn't imagine. I've talked with, quite a few indie low budget, filmmakers, and man, I don't think I could really go down that road, man. It's very time consuming, it's very stressful, I imagine. And you mentioned, lower budget, films had, and you went through Indiegogo, I believe, with Watchdog and a lot of your other projects. What's How do you, because there's some, I see some filmmakers out there, are doing absolutely awesome with their campaigns on Indiegogo, and some not so much. What do you think has been the recipe for success when it comes to crowdfunding? That's the big thing, I think, to even get started, to even start making anything and getting your cast together and figuring all of that business stuff out, the budget. I mean, what would you say?
Well, I think you have to, take your time with it, come up with unique things that you could offer people,
Sure.
but don't overextend yourself. I mean, I've been involved with Indiegogos in the past where it was like once the money starts coming in, people next thing you know, they want you to you're basically going to do your nail clippings or something, signed nail
Right.
clippings,
Oh
and it's like
god.
you just kind of like you have to know when to stop because you don't want to overextend.
Sure.
And so with Watchdog, I was very careful about making sure that whatever you promise people, you can deliver that thing to them.
Right.
As opposed to just saying, "Okay, we'll do this, and this, and then we'll figure it out later."
Yeah,
And
right.
it's like, well, but that, that's a little difficult, and people don't
Sure.
understand that sometimes that desire to be successful gets in the way of actually fulfilling everything. And
Oh, no, exactly. Yeah, you have the passion, but, there's steps to take,
yeah,
and things that have to be done, to at least keep your credibility up.
yeah,
If you don't deliver, because I have heard horror stories just here and there, about, campaigns, and I couldn't even tell you a name. Yeah, I wouldn't blast them, but I couldn't even tell you a name. I mean, it was just XYZ campaign. I don't even know, but I have heard stories of campaigns that do that. The director don't fulfill their promises. There are shit bags out there that's going to do this, but I think for the most part, yeah, there's it's. I don't think that's a problem. Is
well, I
but
mean, the worst part about that is if you attach yourself to one of those and you don't know really who you're working with or how
sure.
what their character is, you could be if you take the blame, you could take the blame for it. And it's like,
No, exactly. Yeah,
it's
you
like,
get
well, trying my best here, guys. I mean, I didn't have a lot of control. So, it's that sort of thing. So,
right.
so you do have to learn to be very careful about who you work with. I mean, that's a
Oh,
big thing that I learned. You have to really be careful because you could get stuck in years and years of trauma,
yeah,
just by not being careful about who you work with and who you're connecting yourself with.
absolutely. I want to mention a film that I absolutely I loved, and I loved your character in it. And maybe some would say you're next. Of course, you played the Lamb Mask in your next, but no, I'm talking about Party Bus.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
I absolutely love that movie, dude. Your character is so just kind of fuck you. Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, I love the attitude of your character. I believe his name is Sean in
yeah.
this movie. And if anybody has not seen this, uh, go see it. This is an enjoyable movie here. I mean, the dude is just off the chain.
Well, I appreciate
How much I mean, see, and that seems like because it kind of seems like most of the movie is on this bus. So you have that one location. I mean, movies like that must be pretty easy to shoot or no.
Well, that movie wasn't because that movie really did take place for the most part on the party bus. Um, so it was a fairly comfortable shoot, except for the stuff that we shot later in the desert, where it was very
Mhm.
cold. It's very cold in the desert. Um, but no, I mean, it was almost like a studio setting. We shot at a studio in Arizona, and which was great. I loved it. Carlos Berber was the director of that movie, and he's someone that I'm probably going to be working with again pretty soon as an actor. And I really enjoyed everybody that was in that party bus. I liked the script. I did a lot of monologuing and stuff in that movie. It was fun because I did that movie where I was very loquacious, and then I turned around, and the very couple weeks later, I shot a movie where my character was the exact opposite. So that was a lot of fun to go from a guy that's telling you everything in his head
Yeah,
to a guy that's doing kind of equally awful things and keeping it all to himself.
right.
Um, and I do some pretty awful things in Party Bus. That's
No, no, you really do, and we'll leave that to viewers to go take and watch it for themselves. But yeah, it's some pretty awful things going on there. It's a good watch. I mean,
yeah.
and it's got a good little story there. Um, now I want to go watch it. All right, show's over.
Yeah, go watch Party Bus.
It is a fun movie. So let me see what else I had. Oh yeah, you were also in VHS 2. Um, I dig those VHS movies. It was probably about 6 years or so ago. I don't know. It's quite a few years ago. I just sat down and watched every one. I went on a little marathon, and those are brutal films.
Yeah,
How was that? You were tape 49, I believe it was. Yeah, a
yeah,
guy character was Kyle.
yeah. I shot myself in that one.
Mm,
That was a fun. That was a fun movie to do. We shot that in Culver City, California, and it was with the same group that I did You're Next with,
okay.
because Simon Barrett, who wrote You're Next and played my brother in it, produced You're Next. That was his directing debut. Was that segment that I appeared in
Oh,
VHS 2,
awesome, awesome.
and the same production company Snoot produced that segment, and it was great because I shot that not long after You're Next. It was like You're Next, and then Simon asked me to do VHS 2, and it was one of those movies. I've never actually had another movie like this before or since, but I couldn't say that I was even in the movie. Like I couldn't admit the movie existed because they wanted it to come out, just suddenly come out, and it's
Gotcha.
like, whoa, wait, VHS 2, what? We didn't even know you were making this.
Right.
Um, and so it was very, very, very secretive.
Very hush
Um,
hush. Yeah.
and so we could finally say we did a movie when the movie was announced to come out, which was a long time. Seemed like a long time. It might have
Yeah.
not been that long, but yeah, no, VHS 2. I enjoyed that film a lot. It's very, very brutal.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily the segment I was in, but if you take it as a whole, it's probably one of the more brutal VHS films And I haven't seen all of the VHS movies. I've seen the first one, and obviously I saw the one I was in. I saw the one 1984 or something, VHS 94. Or, I don't know the title, but the fourth one.
Right, right. What do you like doing better, man? Yeah, I mean, you do so much. Yeah, I mean, the acting or directing. Did you want to be, when you thought about getting into, the film industry, was it more directing or was it more acting that you were leaning towards?
Well, it was really more. It was more writing, and
Oh,
then
okay.
I learned that I had an experience where I learned that you have to kind of direct it, or else you have to produce it if you're going to write it, because it's who knows what's going to come of it. And then I started acting, which is the thing that I'm most known for, is acting. I started acting in my own stuff because I realized fairly early that not everybody's reliable. So I knew I would always be there. So
Makes sense. Yeah.
so I would start to act in my own things that I was directing and writing in college, and then that took off, because I started doing theater, and then I auditioned for the Homesick, which was the first movie I did with Adam Wingard, and now I'm known as an actor. I think ultimately, I think it would be kind of a nice thing for my career and just my life in general to wind back around and end it as a director and a writer, because it's kind of where I wanted to be to begin with.
Right.
And eventually, I'll get to a point as an actor, I think, when I won't want to play dads and sheriffs exclusively.
Right, right. Well, I mean, if you act in your own stuff, I mean, that's just one less actor you got to pay.
Well, I do, but I don't really do that anymore. Like, I don't,
Oh,
that was back when I was in college, and I did it because, like I said, I was reliable. If it's a movie like Watchdog, even though I do appear in Time's Up, I mean, in all honesty, if I knew I was going to end up being the director of that movie, I would have cast someone else in my role, because it's very, very hard on a bigger movie to act and direct and write and you do all this stuff.
sure. Yeah.
It's better for me. I like it better if I direct it or write it, and then I get people to act in it. I don't have any desire to just direct movies in which my face is all you see all the time.
Right. Yeah.
It's like I know what I look like. I'm not. I don't need that. And it's a lot easier as well, because now you can concentrate on the directing, which is
On just one thing instead of, trying to multitask. Yeah.
I don't really think you'll see me acting in very many things that I direct in the future.
Oh, okay. All right. What's come out here lately in the ways of horror movies, either, big ones or, lower budget films that you've seen here recently? What's the latest newer film that's
Hmm.
come out that you've seen?
That's a really tough question. Because I'm drawing a total blank. Newer horror film.
Have you seen Evil Dead Rise?
I haven't
Yeah.
seen that one yet. No. I
Okay.
did watch. I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm really good friends with the guy who's in it, but I thought Malum was really, really good, and
Okay.
you can stream that now. That's when Cheney plays the title
Yes.
role in.
Mhm.
And that's really what comes to mind in terms of things I've seen recently.
Okay.
Um, because I watch, I watch all kinds of movies. I'm not exclusively like a horror watcher.
Right.
So I often will see movies but they're not really like horror. Like I'm looking forward to seeing the new Indiana Jones movie, because I've seen all of them since 1989 in the theater.
Yeah. Right.
So I might as well keep it going. You know.
I've seen them all. When I was younger, as you mentioned, I was a big fan of the Indiana Jones movies. But I have to admit, I'm probably not going to see this one.
Really?
Yeah, I was. Man, I'm tired of seeing these older movies, man. Just keep going. And man, believe it or not, I even said the same thing about the Halloweens.
Hmm.
It was like, man, these last few that came out are really on the fence, with me, man. Why don't we just let this go? Rest in
Yeah.
peace, Hollywood or Halloween franchise. I mean, I'm taking it you have the same, thought process. I mean, some of these movies, just let them go. Let them go. Come up with new ideas, and that's why I
Yeah.
love the indie film scene in all genres, I guess, but more specifically the horror genre. There's more original ideas coming out instead of the same rehashing.
Yeah, well, I mean that's definitely true. I think you can you can't just beat the dead horse
Exactly.
forever. I do like original stuff, but the ironic thing is when something that's original comes out, it's not like it's really as respected as something that, or at least people don't go to it as much as they go to these sequels to things that were, 40 or 50 years old. Like the Indiana Jones thing, it was like 18 years between 3 and 4, and it's like 15 years between 4 and 5. So it's not like that's just going on forever,
Right.
or it's constantly there.
Yeah.
But like with some of these horror franchises, like every 2 or 3 years, you get another Halloween or another something. It's just like, it's like with Halloween ends. Well, I mean, don't patronize me. It's ending until the next one. I mean,
Exactly,
you know,
right. It's like these farewell tours, that these bands
yeah,
have. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I thought that one was the farewell tour. Now they're in this city farewell tour, and and then a year later, boom, they go back around. I had that same same instance happen when I went and seen Slayer about 3-4 years ago. They were in Indiana, and it was the farewell tour. A year later, they're in California doing a farewell tour. I'm like, when are you guys just going to stop? and
right.
and I get it, man. If you're in something, you don't want to stop. I get that, but no, and the same rehashing, man. And I heard that Hollywood, a buddy of mine told me, and I don't know, how true. I trust his, word, but he mentioned that Hollywood is just not doing very well financially. Some of these bigger budget movies are not bringing in the money, like they thought, spending millions and millions of dollars and bringing in pennies on the dollar. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just it's not really looking that good. I mean, isn't the writers strike still going on as well?
Well, and I understand that what they're talking about too, because with the writers' strike, you have this new thing that is streaming, right? So
Right.
streaming is like the big thing now. So after theaters, theaters are really expensive to go to. Then you had the COVID thing happen, and that
Sure.
really, beat the hell out of the theater, and nobody
Yeah.
wants to get out and see a movie anymore. So everybody's streaming everything. But the problem is when you're streaming everything, there's not like a standardized way in which you report the numbers. And so
Gotcha.
what they're doing is they're saying, we don't know, because if you have a movie that's streaming, it could make $10,000. Let's just say some small number in movie terms, and they could tell you, well, it made $1,000, and they just keep all the rest of it. And it's like,
Right.
because so much of the movie business is about money and people trying to
Oh
get their
yeah.
money and everything, and it's like, you know, you could work your ass off on something and then at the end of the day get a small percentage, and some company that's streaming could just tell you, oh well, that's all that you made. And it
Right.
could be a total. So what's everybody going to do? Audit every single company?
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's all very weird, and yeah, it is an upheaval because of the way the theatrical that market is just disappearing, except for these huge movies. And now what you're finding is people are spending more and more money to make these huge movies, and that'll come out in theater, and now people aren't going to see them.
Yeah.
So, it's like, I hope that the whole thing doesn't implode in terms of the theatrical experience, because I mean, in all honesty, if you're like my age or older, I think when you get into making films, you want to see it on the screen, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean nationwide, but just a screen somewhere. I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of film directors did not get into film directing in order to make what is essentially with streaming television.
Hmm.
I mean, you're basically making television movies, and
Yeah, exactly. And
you know,
and I love personally to, go see movies, to go out and see them on the big screen. I love that experience. I grew up doing that, watching Star Wars and ET and going to the theater every weekend. That was a big thing for me. So now me and Mrs. Dreads, we have a little rewards thing that we do with the theater. We get a free ticket every month. We pay $10 a month. We get, deals on concessions. And when a good movie that we both want to go see, bam, halftime we can go for free.
yeah,
Because we have the free tickets and they roll over. And that's just something, I can equate it to me personally. I'm a baseball fan, always have been since I was a kid. It's a very nostalgic thing for me. Like going to the theaters. It's like, man, I'd rather be sitting in the stands of at a baseball game than watching it on TV.
hmm
And it's kind of the same thing, with
yeah,
me. And theaters and things like that, theaters, kind of the drive-ins died. I'm a drive-in kid. I loved going to the drive-ins. I miss them. We may have one in the area still. And yeah, that's it's a lost, well, I guess I won't say, I don't know, art, but it's a lost recreation, over the years with all these streaming services. A movie will come out, next thing you know, it's like, oh yeah, it'll be streaming next month. It just came out.
yeah.
I mean, I remember you wouldn't see a movie come out on like a VHS at the movie store, until, 6 months down the road. You had to go see it in the theater if you wanted to see it. It wouldn't even maybe come out on one of the movie channels, HBO or Cinemax or whatever, until months after it's been in the theater. And that's gone now.
Yeah, yeah, it made every little piece of it an event. It was like when it was in theater, it was an event. You go see it in the theater. Oh, and then now you have to wait. Now you have to wait. And you wait and you wait and you wait. And then it's an event when it comes out on
Exactly.
VHS,
Yeah. It
and
was
oh, I
something
can't wait.
special. Right.
Nowadays, it's like there's hardly any events anymore. I mean, certain people like Nolan, Christopher Nolan, and some other people, or Tarantino to some extent. I mean, they're making their films, and when they come out, they kind of make them an event. Oh, I want to go see it in the theater because this is a big event. But a
Hmm.
lot of these things, and it's just from an independent cinema point of view, it can be very depressing, because that nowadays you're not going to get a theatrical unless you're very, very lucky. I mean, the Terrifier 2 thing, it sort of opens the door up to where people saw that was successful, so that was really good. And I think you might see some horror movies getting those limited theatrical kind of things like that, because Terrifier 2 was so successful
Yeah.
in the theater. But like I say, that's a very rare event. Not every movie is going to have that opportunity if it's
Sure.
independent. And then on top of that, you have these film festivals. So really an independent film to actually be seen on a screen, you're going to have to go to a film festival. I mean, that's your way to do it. But now the film festivals are doing these virtual programs. So it's like the one place an independent film could be seen on a screen. Now we're straight back to television.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like, yeah, it kind of sucks, because I mean, television, when television first came out, they were always terrified that that's going to destroy theaters, because why would anyone leave your home? And maybe it's just been, decades and decades and decades, and we come back to that. Maybe television will eventually kill the theatrical experience. It just took it a long time to do it.
No, that's very true. Mr. Nanner says going to the theater is way too expensive, and the people are rude.
Well, I do think
it is
it is
expensive.
expensive.
I get that. I did go see Evil Dead Rise. That was the last movie I went and saw, and I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. But again, if you can take advantage, there are ways around the expensive aspect of it. I can't help if Trish at the concessions is rude and gave an eye roll. I can't, you can't do
Yeah.
much about that, but you can, maybe get involved in the, $10 a month, you get a free ticket, you get these little perks to cheapen the experience.
They're going, if they want it to survive, they're gonna have to incentivize it. In other
Yeah,
words,
absolutely. Yeah.
you've got to bring down the prices. Things can't get more expensive, because that's one more reason people won't go.
Right.
So if they want it to survive, the theatrical industry, they're going to have to either incentivize it, bring down those tickets, do something to get people in besides just having big event movies. Because
Right.
as we're starting to learn, big event movies aren't necessarily a guarantee.
No.
Because people are spending $300 million on a movie, and they might make $400 million on that movie. Well, that's not even counting the marketing cost, which is double. If you have a $350 million movie with marketing, you're at least going to look at 200 to 300 million in marketing. So you have to make over $500 million before you break even.
Before you break even.
I mean,
Yeah.
what sort of a business model is that? And
Man,
you
yeah,
can't
that's
expect
crazy.
that. You can't expect that to work. And then on top of that, you have these ticket prices, and of course the prices go up because the budgets of the movies go up. So it's like, it is, as someone that I know has said, it's an imploding industry.
Mm.
And I hope that's not true, because I like to go see movies in the theater. But I think at this point, after the COVID thing, after everything else that's damaged it, you're going to have to do something big if you want to keep it going, or
Oh,
otherwise,
yeah.
like I say, every filmmaker is going to be making television. I mean, that's just what it's going to come to.
Right. Yeah. We kind of seen it with the drive-ins. Nobody wanted to go to the drive-ins, and that whole industry just kind of, and they just started disappearing. I was fortunate enough to, I took my kids to the drive-in, and 20 some years ago, and so they at least got to experience. But yeah, I think we're seeing this. I think, unfortunately, we are gonna see, theaters just start disappearing. I mean, they have tried to make, with the big loungers and
Mhm.
and things like that, make it very comfortable, and things like that. I mean, some theaters have even brought in beer, which are
Yeah.
very expensive. I don't drink anymore, but I did at one time at these theaters, and it's pretty expensive. You can get some good IPAs, but other than
Yeah.
that, I mean, the theaters around here have tried to incentivize and get people in, like, hey, we have alcohol. Hey, you can get 20% off concessions. Trust me, is a nice little chunk.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helps. And if it wasn't for those little rewards programs like that, we probably wouldn't go as much as we do now, which isn't that often that we find something we want to go see, and we would be watching more on your streaming services. So I can see where I can see both sides of this.
Yeah.
It is a shame. It is a shame. It's it's like when Toys R Us left and Saturday morning cartoons are gone. It's like, man, taking everything that I grew up with, and
Yeah.
now it's all gone.
Yeah. And and in some ways, like I say, as an independent filmmaker, I've already said goodbye to it, in terms
Yeah.
of that, because independents just don't get that sort of It's very rare. Every so
Very
often
rare,
one
yeah,
will
as
do
you
it.
mentioned,
But
Terrifier 2,
yeah, yeah.
and, I've had, a couple guests, here recently have credited, Terrifier 2 as, really putting the indie stamp on the horror genre, and what do you think about that? You think they're kind of, setting the bar in a sense, really putting indie horror, on the map, and I think a lot of that is probably due to, theaters maybe.
Well, I think that, content aside, anything that is independent in horror and that goes to the movie theaters and makes, 10, 15, $20 million is good for the independent horror,
Mhm.
genre. Regardless of what the film is, it's good because it lets people know in Hollywood that, oh, wait a second, they made money doing that. Maybe we could make money doing that too, because that's really what it's all about.
Sure,
It's like
yeah.
because you need the one thing to prove this will make money. It's like when the original Blair Witch Project came out, the entire found footage genre was born because they realized, oh, wait a second, what is this? This movie, found footage. Oh, this made 300 and something $1 million off
Mhm.
of nothing budget. Let's make ours and we can make that money, and then this whole, and that created this whole found footage genre,
Right,
they still
yeah.
go into this day. And so all you need is one thing to make money to open the door for other opportunities for other people. I mean, the horror movies, independent horror is really oversaturated. So I wouldn't really say, everybody expect Terrifier 2, but who
Mhm.
knows? It might happen to you if you're lucky one day, something similar to that. But that was successful. Oh, I think opened the door for other things to at least have a chance.
Right, and I think you made a good point. It is, it is very oversaturated. I see, I follow quite a few groups on social media, indie, groups and whatnot, and it seems like every day there's another project coming up. This is live on Indiegogo. There's projects everywhere, which I guess is fine, but when you get to that oversaturation point, um, it's just kind of making it difficult on really, I guess, anybody, but to really make it successful, or does that, increase your chances, do you think, when you get to that oversaturation?
Well, I don't think it increases the chances because then you have a harder time breaking away from the pack.
Sure.
The way I approach horror films, in terms of making them, writing them, and directing them, as I come at it from a very personal standpoint. I think everybody in the world has had experiences that are personal to them, and whether it be, you think back to your childhood, you think back to your adult years, you think back to relationships you've had, or whatever, friendships. There are things that are specific in your experience that no one else has quite had in that way.
Sure.
So if you can take things that are very specific to you and somehow translate them into a film story, well, that gives you a chance to make something that's not only personal to an extent, but that is unique because no one has seen quite that because you're using a unique experience from your own life
Yeah, you're
as the
using your
basis
own
for it.
perspective,
Right.
of it. Yeah.
So it is going to be, to at least some degree, an original thing. And then, of course, it's all in the execution as well, because it is kind of true that every story has already been told.
Yeah.
But how do you execute it? And then that's a big part of it as well. So, I think horror, that you kind of, I think it behooves you to think outside of the box. Don't look at it and go, okay, here's a horror movie, and rule number one is this, and two is this, and three is that, and
Sure.
hit all this beat, and then at that point, this person's got. Don't just throw all that aside and just make a movie that is personal to you, that has unique things in it that you haven't seen before.
Mhm.
And yes, it is true that there will be pushback on that. And people will go, "Oh, wait a second, this isn't Friday the 13th," whatever.
Right,
But
right.
that's good. To me, that's good because
I
it's like,
agree.
well, I don't want to make Friday the 13th because that was already made by somebody. So
Yeah.
I want to make this thing that hasn't been made, that wasn't made 40 years ago or whatever, you know,
Mhm.
that is its own thing. I'm not much for that sort of, you know, just saying, we'll just give people what they want. You know,
Yeah.
because I don't think people know what they want or what they're going to like until they see it. And then they either like it or they don't.
Right. No, that makes perfect sense. I had a point I was going to make and my head just went completely blank.
I hate it when that happens.
Oh
I'm
my
always
god.
That's the thing about being like you getting older. There's tons of times I walk into a room and I'm like, the fuck am I doing in here?
Yeah, why am I here?
Why am I in here?
What's my name?
Yeah. Yeah.
um oh man, I mean my head went just completely woohoo. Um
No, I know exactly. It happens to me all the time.
Yeah, you makes really good points though. The indie, I think you do have to take a personal experience that you're willing to put in movie form. That's a a great way to take and go about it. I think that well, you can put a lot more into it, and it is in a sense an original idea. But then again, like you said, I mean, you can't. Everything has already pretty much been done. If you have an original idea and you see a killer that or whatever, you're going to be somebody's always going to be able. Well, look, he's just ripping that movie off, or he's just ripping that movie off. Not necessarily. I mean, this is original idea. Yes, there may be aspects that may remind you of something else because I don't think you're going to avoid that.
Well, and also you have a situation a lot of times where people kind of pushing you to do that because they think
Yeah,
people are going to like it, you know.
sure.
So you kind of have to, compromise to some degree in terms of the things that you put in there and things you don't, because they're like, well, that's too far out. The people aren't going to like it because it's not like this. And I'm always kind of pushing back against that and saying, well, you don't really know people aren't going to like it. You don't know
Mhm.
it until show it to people. And my point of view about making films is that, if I direct a film and you watch it and you don't like it, that's fine. I
That's
just didn't
okay.
I didn't make that film for you. I mean, you
Ugh,
have a different taste. It's okay,
yeah.
So it's not like, because I think the worst thing you can possibly do in this is to go in this and think, I'm going to do this because I want to win friends and influence people. And it's like, I'm sorry, you're gonna let yourself down. That's just not the way people are in the world. There's always gonna be somebody that doesn't like it, that hates on it. If you build your entire self-esteem around what other people think about you or your work, you're gonna hit. It's heartache. Heartache's
It
coming.
it it really is. I mean, you pretty much have to, keep your eye on the prize, stay true to your passion, and make films that you like, and in whatever genre that may be. And the people who appreciate your art and like that type of film are going to come. You're not going to please everyone all the time, and if you're trying to go out there and your goal, I think this is just me personally. I think if your goal going into it is to, make tons of money and be, this famous director, filmmaker, or actor, or whatever you're getting into, I think you're kind of already off on the wrong foot. That's just me
No,
personally.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because the chances of that happening
Are
are
very
very
slim.
slim, very
Yeah.
slim. So to me, it's like, if the chances are that slim, don't worry about it. Like, why even
Yeah.
worry about it? Just
Yeah.
do, if you're fortunate enough to have the opportunity to make a film, then just do the thing that interests you. Make the kind of movie you would want to watch, that you would want to watch. Don't
Exactly.
try to make everybody happy, because look on IMDb or Amazon and read the reviews. people aren't going to be happy.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Nobody's going to love everything. The best movies ever made, there are people who say that it's terrible. And
I was going to make that same point. You probably have, I mean, movies, Gone with the Wind, some of these, just classics all over the, the map, some of these classics, there's, I can guarantee there's people out there going, that was a shit film.
oh yeah, yeah, you could make Lawrence of Arabia, and there'd still be a large percentage of the population that's like, "What the hell is that? I hate that." You know?
Yeah, right. And I'm probably one. It's just not my style of movie. Was it a
Yeah,
horrible movie? Probably not. I've never sat down and watched it. It was probably
yeah.
very well made. Just not my style,
I mean,
And you're gonna
there are
find that.
there are great movies out there that everybody loves, and I watch some of them, and I it's not for me. That director didn't make that movie for me, you know.
Yeah,
But
right.
that's okay. That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, it's not a shot at the, the director. It's just you made it, you got to make a movie from your vision, and that
Yeah.
vision can't be to please everyone, and I think it's good advice to take and, bring something, from yourself that you personally live through, if that's, use that idea. I think that makes a lot of sense, man. It's pretty good parting words. I want to thank you so much, man, for hanging out this morning. Um I cannot wait for Time's Up, of course, Watchdog. Again, everybody needs to go see fucking Party Bus. I'm telling you, you're gonna love LC's character in that. I love it. He's just so snide, sarcastic. I mean, just very callous. You'll love it. You'll love it. Check it out. Where can people find out? Throw us out some social media links or whatnot, where people can find out about Watchdog and what's coming up and what's going on.
Well, Watchdog, you can check it out on Facebook, the Watchdog official movie page. You can, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at contact.lc Holt. Yeah, and those are pretty much the social medias I do.
Yeah.
I'm not, don't do very many of them.
I don't either. If it were up to me, I'd probably go back to MySpace. I don't know.
Yeah, I remember that.
I
The old
know,
days.
right? I seen this meme that said, "Man, I remember when all this Facebook was, farmland. Everybody was playing the that farm. What was the name of that? Everybody was playing like the little farm game
Oh
on
yeah, I know
Facebook."
that. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember when this was all farmland, now my how times have changed. Well, man, congrats on, all your success so far. The trailer for Watchdog looks, spectacular. I love it's I guess you wouldn't say Watchdog is really a home invasion movie, but then again, it kind of is. It seems like he was kind of invited and when things
Yeah.
go bad. So
Yeah.
I love those types of movies, man. I can't wait. When did you mention, did I ask you when is Watchdog, are you looking at a release for the public later on this year?
I would hope so. Yeah, in terms of
Okay.
distribution, yeah, but it'll definitely be screening at some film festivals and conventions before then.
Right. Awesome. So yeah, everyone needs to get over there, Watchdog, or befriend LC, or keep an eye out on his page for those cons and film festivals, man, getting it out there. Uh Thanks again, LC, man. It's been a lot of fun. I'm just gonna throw you backstage. If you can hold on a second, I'm gonna sign off, get out of here, and I'm gonna I want to say bye off the show here.
Yeah.
And hang tight, LC. It was a again, like I told you, man, it's an awesome show. Just like yeah, I delivered this time. This time. Yeah, I'm serious. I can't stop talking enough. I'm gonna have to go watch Party Bus again. That is a really good film. Trust me. I hope you got something out of this, man. Filmmaking's hard. Trust me. Well, don't trust me because I'm not a filmmaker, but I've talked to enough. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express. Thank you guys for listening again. This if you couldn't make the live, I know the time. People got their 9 to 5s. I get it. But check it out over there on or on YouTube. And I will be posting it around my social media. Night Living Dreads on Facebook, nightlivingdreads.com. They got some of our older episodes on there. You can check that out. So you guys have a great Tuesday, and we will see you next week.